Yeah, chat, I don't research my videos. Especially when it has to do with missing person cases. I just like make up my own story. Is that cool with you guys though? Like every detail I make has nothing to do with the actual story except the name of the person who went missing. And I just make up my own story. I don't do any research. See, that's the way to do it, chat. That's how you get them. JO Kids, thank you so much for those reruns. Went to the Ballin School of Making It Up. Making...
The Isle of Wight. A small, picturesque island about 2 miles off the south coast of England. An area famous for its rich culture and natural beauty. It's a traditional and friendly place where many Brits choose to retire. Home to 140,000 people, in the summer months it's a hotbed for tourists. People flock to the so-called Dinosaur Island, where so many fossils and prehistoric bones have been found. The remnants of the rock's Jurassic past. Nowadays, the landmass is much less ferocious, the only real danger being a feisty red squirrel
I had to come
or
for a
seagull
stream
pinching your fishing
from
chips as you walk along
because
the
of all the
seaside.
YouTube commenter jokes.
Or so you'd hope.
YouTube commenter jokes.
This was Damien Nettles. Born in Singapore on June 21st, 1980, he and his 3 siblings spent much of their early life bouncing between countries with their English mother, Valerie, and their American father, Ed.
Sorry. That was my British. That was my British sound. It's like an accent, but just in a sound, if that makes sense. It's just like it came out of me. Like when I see anything British, it just comes out of me.
1990. In many ways, Damien was your typical mid-90s teen. One who loved Doc Martens and rocking out to Nirvana, Blur, and the Beatles.
Hell yeah.
One who enjoyed staying up late and socializing. One who hoped to study marine biology in the future. And one who, in all likelihood, fell victim to a small island's shady underworld.
Uh-oh.
This is the unsolved mystery of Damien Nettles.
I feel like I've heard Nettles before. Anyone else?
Are you sick of feeling like your personal information is being bought and sold like a
Aura. Wait, let me find his code.
That's Aura.com.
There's his code, chat, right there. Go to Aura.com/lazy to start your free 2-week trial today. Link in the description.
It was the 2nd of November, 1996. A cold and dreary day on the Isle of Wight. That evening, a then 16-year-old Damien Nettles slipped on his favourite outfit. A pair of blue jeans, a black sweater, and his signature Doc Martens, and caught a ride with his father Ed to East Cowes, eager to meet up with his best friend, Chris Boone. As he stepped out the vehicle, Ed told his son to be home no later than midnight. Always polite, Damien thanked his dad for the lift, agreed to the curfew with his trademark
This
grin,
is starting to
and set
feel
off
familiar.
towards Chris's house.
I don't know if I've heard of this before.
That was the last time Ed ever saw his son. Unbeknownst to either of their parents, Damien and Chris were secretly planning to get drunk together. Now, I don't know about other parts of the world, but in the UK, and most of Europe, that's pretty typical for people their age. Damien and Chris's night began at 7:30 PM when they attended a house party hosted by a mutual friend. Well, this party turned out to be more of a gathering, and so, preferring to spend their night elsewhere, Damien and Chris left at 9:30 and went to a local off-license to buy some booze. The legal drinking age in the UK is 18, but Damien was tall, 6'4" to be exact, and could definitely pass for older than his years.
What? Wait, what does off license mean, chat? Help me out here. You watch so many of these, they all start blending together? Yeah, I could see that. Similar stories, similar names. Chat, what does it mean? Help me out.
And as such, the pair fancied their chances of not being
Any
ID'd.
knowers? No knowers?
Luck smiled upon them, and they left the store with 2 bottles of Special Red, a strong and cheap cider. From there, the two caught the ferry from East to West Cowes, and witnesses aboard described the 2 youngsters as chatty but not drunk. After arriving on Cowes High Street, the 2 young men hopped from pub to
like
pub,
Spencer's or
hoping Damien's height would...
I thought off license meant like, I thought that was like a description of the place. Like it wasn't a licensed alcohol place. Okay, am I stupid for thinking that? Am I dumb? That's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, oh, illegal selling of alcohol. But is it just the name of a place? A weird name.
...would work in their favour once again. Yet, despite their best efforts, they were refused entry to all of them.
Like a liquor store? Yeah,
So
obviously it's a liquor store. He went to buy alcohol there, idiot. Duh. That's not what I'm asking. All right, I'm done.
The one thing you can always
I'll stop talking
about
British
it. Weather going from bad to worse. Without warning, it began hammering it down with rain. And rather than lurk around outside bars like a pair of drowned rats,
breathe, pig.
Damien
Don't
and
tell me
Chris
to breathe.
mutually decided
All right?
to call it.
I know how to breathe. I know how to breathe a lot better than you.
Northwood Park, and when they reached the steps, the boys parted ways. That was at 10:30 p.m. But though Chris's night was over, Damien's wasn't. He initially set off in the direction of his house, but at some point, he turned around and returned to the high street, bouncing from pub to pub once again.
Oh.
Without the much younger-looking Chris by his side, Damien found it far easier to get inside without being ID'd. Several locals who knew Damien confirmed seeing him inside various pubs during that next hour. One witness even recalled seeing a confused young man matching Damien's description in the Harbour Lights pub car park, attempting to open the door of a blue Ford Fiesta at around 11:15. Damien's hunger eventually got the better of him, and like many young Brits after a night out, he went to fill up on some greasy food. And when in counts,
beans? Just some beans on plain toast that isn't even toasted. It's just bread, beans on bread. Dude, British food is fucking disgusting. All right, who does that? Who puts beans on everything, man? Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some beans, but
Yorkie's fish and chip shop.
Fish and chip. There he is, chat.
The CCTV footage, captured from inside Yorkie's, shows Damien entering the busy high street eatery at 11:34 p.m. The gentle giant can be seen chatting with other patrons before placing his order.
Why is he like talking to all of them like he knows him? God, am I a loser? Like, when I walk into a store, I don't talk to people. Are British people different? Like, when I walk into a store, I'm not like, I don't get chummy with randoms. You know what I mean? Like, I don't just like, hey, how's it going? Like, no. But no. Britain is so small, everyone knows each other. You can recognise that code. Headache. Oh shit, man. I'm redoing it. You need to brush up on your fish identification skills.
And for chatting with strangers. But judging from the footage,
I'm recreating it so you guys can immerse yourself.
Looks to me as if his chattiness might have stemmed from the cider he'd been drinking. Or perhaps even from a stronger substance.
Can I have, what the Sigma? One, please. Please. What do you want one of? More fish identification skills. Sorry, can't hear you. Can I have one? One what? One, please. One food, please. You want some chips? Oi! Thank you. You're welcome. Damien appears to look for someone. That's not. They're not. That's not dialogue. It's just. £70 payday. Yep. That's a lot of salt.
The man who served Damien that fateful night. Alcohol alone doesn't make you act like that.
Yeah, that was, to be honest, that was really weird. Very strange.
Damien left the shop at 11:39 p.m. Shortly thereafter, he tried to board a bus and asked the driver to take him to Cowes. The driver told him that he was already in Cowes. In response, Damien tried to take the driver's picture with the camera he was carrying, politely thanked the driver for the ride, and then stumbled back off the vehicle. A witness in a stationary car later noticed a young man at the same bus stop, one who matched Damien's description. This young man approached the witness's car, got them to roll down the window, and then nervously whispered, "They're watching us." He repeated this phrase before disappearing down the high street. The last reported sighting of Damien was at 12:06 AM as he made his way along Sun Hill in the direction of his home.
Bro, is he just having like extreme paranoia or some shit?
The streets, at that point, were empty. When the rest of the Nettles family awoke later that morning, they quickly realized that Damien hadn't returned home. That was completely out of character. Valerie and Ed tried their best to contact him, but were unable to do so, and as such, went to the local authorities and reported their son missing. Today, 27.5 years later, Damien's whereabouts and well-being remain a mystery, with this surveillance footage being the last to show him alive. So, what happened to Damien Nettles that dreary night in November 1996? Well, like any missing person case, there are 5 main explanations we can examine. He ran away. He ended his own existence. He had an accident. He was taken. Or he was killed. To begin with,
I don't know how he was talking. It sounded to me like bro was having like a manic episode. I mean, obviously I don't know his brain history, but like, you know what I mean? How he's like chatting and talking really weird and stuff and like looking around and looking out the window or the door gives very like manic vibes.
The police didn't suspect foul play. When Ed and Valerie told them that Damien hadn't returned home that night, they ignored their urgent pleas for land and air searches.
Pull up his MRI scans or I call BS. All right, I got him right here.
Their attitude was so apathetic that they mistakenly recorded Damien's age as 19 rather than 16, making him a missing adult instead of a missing child.
Dude, why did search parties always suck? You know what I mean? Like every time there's like they need to search for someone, like it's always like, oh, do I have to? It's like you're going up to a child, like, hey, can you go clean your room? And they, really? Do I have to? Like, it's not that, like, it's gonna just get dirty again. Who cares? It's the same situation, but for cops. Like, holy shit.
Mrs. Nettles called the station a few days later for an update. She was unbelievably dismissed by officers as a hysterical mother and was told that her frequent calls were obstructing their investigation. When it was clear to Valerie and the rest of the Nettles family,
like the case that I'm researching right now is the same shit. They called the cops and the cops were like, I mean, it's a teenager, right? Like they disappear all the time. Like they're probably just like, you know, being a teenager or whatever. It's the same shit. Like the cop literally was like, yeah, it's whatever. It's just a teenager. Like that's just what they do. They just disappear. Like, what? Are you serious?
That Damien wasn't ignoring them on purpose. And besides, on such a small island, where was he meant to have run off to? Word travels fast on the Isle of Wight. Everyone was aware of Damien's name and face by that point, and nobody had reported seeing a distinctive 6'4" boy anywhere. Which brings us to Damien's mental well-being. Those who knew Damien described him as having a zest for life, and no one suspected he was planning to end things. Shortly before his disappearance, Damien had broken up with his girlfriend, Abby Scott, and some believe that he took the breakup harder than he let on. They say that after eating his final meal from the chippy, Damien walked out into the sea, never to return. But Abby herself thinks there's a more sinister reason behind Damien's disappearance. Near the end of their relationship, Damien befriended some unsavory older men, once known to be involved in the drugs trade. Despite its idyllic setting, in the 90s, the Isle of Wight was
Who was he talking to in that building, though?
One sect was a group of a dozen or so dealers who operated in and around East and West Cowes, the area where Damien was last seen. Many were well-known figures on the island who dealt in every kind of substance imaginable. Among them, Bunny Isles, the island's most notorious dealer, with over 30 criminal convictions to his ridiculous name.
Ew.
Then there was Bunny's housemate and best friend, Nicky McNamara.
Ew!
An unstable man.
Why do they both look disgusting?
Supply. There was Nicky's girlfriend, Shirley Barrett.
What?
Ew! 52 unspent
what the fuck?
And who was known to throw used needles at children.
What?
But not least.
Known to throw used needles at children? How do you even get known for that? What?
Danny Spencer, a friend
Fish and TV, put their beans on toast, right?
of the trio, who did
No, I'm
little
not
for
gonna
the
say anything,
reputation of
chat.
British teeth.
I'm not gonna say anything. Cartoonishly evil? Yeah, I know, right?
Damien and Chris did secretly smoke together regularly. That much we know. According to Chris, they often made those purchases from the Dirty Dozen, who typically operated out of Bunny's home. Though Chris hasn't confirmed this, it's suspected that he and Damien were going from pub to pub that evening, looking for a dealer they recognized.
Thank you, Jasper.
Given the reputation of the Dirty Dozen, it wasn't long before word began spreading across the island that dealers were behind Damien's vanishing, though the who, how, where and why changed depending on who you asked. For many years, those rumours remained just that. Rumours. Of course such unsavoury types were going to be magnets for such suspicion. But in 2002, 6 years after Damien's last confirmed sighting, someone came forward, not as a speculator, but as a witness. A source, who has opted to remain anonymous, confessed to a team of BBC journalists that he used to deal alongside Nicky McNamara. This source alleged that Damien owed Nicky money for an eighth of pot. Angry about the unpaid debt, Nicky supposedly punched Damien with so much force that he died instantly. The source claims that Nicky then hid Damien's body inside his house for 3 weeks before burying him in Parkhurst Forest.
What the fuck?
Despite the Nettle family's best efforts,
Punched him?
the authorities...
Bro, what? You're telling me that Damien got one shot? You're telling me he got one punch, man? Really?
refused to take cadaver dogs out to that location, citing that the source wasn't trustworthy. A group of local residents came together to try and excavate the huge
Might have been
site.
brass knuckles?
The
Yeah,
police
I
denied
guess.
them permission to do so, but the group
I
went
guess
ahead
if
with
you
the
hit
dig
him right in the
regardless.
temple.
Unfortunately, that search turned up no sign of Damien. Which begs the question, was there any truth in that source's confession?
I mean, to be fair,
perhaps.
that source might have been just trying to get them off his trail or someone else's trail, right? That's probably what was happening.
You see, years later, a separate source claimed to have seen Nicky walking down West Coast High Street at 11:30 PM the night Damien went missing, right around the same time that he would have entered Yorkie's. Supposedly with Nicky were his infamous posse, Bunny, Shirley, and Danny. That timing could, of course, be coincidental. November 2nd was a Saturday night, so Nicky and Damien being in town at the same time doesn't prove that he took the boy's life.
You're right, Nicky. You seem to pee off your face, okay?
The next day, however, the source claims to have seen Nicky burning what appeared to be a black sweater in an oil drum, apparently muttering to himself, "I'm a damned man. I'm a damned man." According to this witness, the smell coming from the drum was like that of burning flesh.
Ew. How do you know?
Neither of the source's confessions have ever
How do
been
you know?
substantiated.
How do you know
And
what
though they shouldn't be
burning flesh
ignored,
smells like?
They should be treated with a healthy dose of skepticism. One thing that could help clear up any doubts would be if Nicky and his cohort were caught on video alongside Damien that night. Luckily, 7 security cameras covered the area along Cowes High Street at the time, and should have captured images of Damien leaving Yorkie's. That same footage may well hold the key to uncovering who exactly he encountered.
Let me
All
guess.
of it was collected
Tampered?
and handed over to the police to be enhanced.
Oh, okay.
Yet, strangely, the officers working the case accidentally taped over all of it before it could be analysed.
Inside job. That's a rimside rob. That's a rimside rob, dude. No. They know people. Yeah. All right. Accidentally. Let me just accidentally go into this evidence bag that is probably completely sealed and hidden away in an organized spot. Let me take this specific one and record over it. Oh, oops. Oops-a-daisies.
Because of one foolish officer's actions, that vital footage has been lost forever.
Oops.
Frustrated with the police's repeated failures and lack of progress, the Nettles family hired a private investigator to look into Damien's disappearance and see whether there truly was a link between him and Nicky McNamara. Soon after taking on the case, however, that same PI received a visit from the police himself.
Uh-oh.
They warned him not to investigate the matter. Damien, they suspected, had drunkenly tried to swim the Solent that night, the stretch of water that separates the Isle of Wight from the British mainland. He had likely drowned or froze on his way to Portsmouth, they said, and would probably never be found. Where they got that theory from remains unclear, but as the local fishermen understood all too well, the Solent gives back what it takes away. That is, everything that falls in gets washed up eventually. Damien's father, Ed, even spoke with the harbour master in Cowes, Captain Henry Wrigley. We got the charts out, and I calculated for them the tidal movements, tidal sets, and rate, as well as all of the possibilities in case he had slipped into the water. The Solent is complicated, but it's well charted. I'm certain that had he gone into the water that night,
yeah, it's a rimside Rob chat
to the land. The harbour master knew that the police's theory was nonsensical. So did the PI. Ignoring the officer's warning, he conducted his own investigation and began by speaking with Shirley Barrett, the girlfriend of Nicky McNamara. Off the record, Shirley told the private eye that Nicky and one other man had picked Damien up that night on Bering Road, drove him to who knows where, and did God knows what to him. But Shirley also told the PI that if he spoke a word of her confession to anyone, she'd have him murdered.
Uh-oh.
That confession actually held some water. In 2005, 10 years after Damien went missing, an acquaintance of Nicky's came forward and said that on that fateful night he had seen Nicky holding Damien up against a wall in West Cowes. Standing by and watching was Nicky's sidekick, Danny Spencer.
What is? Who are these people? Are these cartoon characters? Like, are these people even real? I feel like I'm watching a cartoon right now. Like, what is this shit?
Being the other man that Shirley had alluded to.
Time-traveling AI people.
Many tall tales of what happened to Damien have been passed around over the years. That he was killed while trying to protect a friend. That he was trafficked off the island in a boat. That he was chopped up and turned into fish bait. But the only one that stood the test of time is that Nicky McNamara was in some way responsible. Nicky himself would never escape that suspicion for the rest of his life. Not that he had to live with it for long. He died in 2002 from an accidental overdose. Well, one that was a ruled accidental. Heroin had been injected into his back, and he was found in his girlfriend Shirley's bath. Her place was known locally as the house.
In his back? Bro, did someone murder him? It's the used needle lady. Oh shit. Oh, used needle lady assassinated him. She threw the used needles at him. Damn, I didn't know you streamed. How? Well, now you do. And now you're gonna watch me forever.
Some death due to the number of people who had OD'd there. By the time Shirley found Nicky, he'd been dead in the bath for several days.
Effective.
She had been in the house the entire time, but was apparently so out of her mind that she hadn't noticed him. Despite Nicky's demise, to this day, nobody has mustered up the courage to come forward with credible information about Damien's disappearance, and those who have spoken up have done so unofficially and anonymously. As far as I can tell, Nicky's friend, Danny Spencer, still lives on the island. According to those who know
psychic, by the way,
Danny often talks about Damien Nettles, the boy who went missing all those years ago, and allegedly repeats the phrase, "If there's no body, there's no crime. No body, no crime."
Yep.
Somehow, and the mind boggles at this, Danny's been able to get his hands on the confidential witness statements, which threw suspicion on both him and Nicky.
Yeah, it's blatantly an inside job. We get it.
Whether he's used that information to intimidate those who tried to speak out against him remains unclear, though it's worth noting that at least one witness has since retracted their statement. The authorities did question Danny, but released him without charge due to a lack of evidence.
Could only imagine who did it.
7 other arrests have been made since then too, but nobody has ever been charged in connection with Damien's case. The police kept no logs or recordings of any of their interviews with the suspects. Given that he was with Nicky on the night of November 2nd, 1996, journalists have since spoken with his former housemate, Bunny Arles, a man rumoured to know what happened to Damien. Bunny denies having ever met the boy. And that's despite Damien's best friend, Chris Boone,
of course,
admitting that they used to score from him.
Yeah, okay.
Safe to
yeah,
say,
of course.
Bunny likely knows more than he's letting on.
Lazy uses the weirdest stock footage.
As for the police,
I agree.
Valerie Nettles has described their management of the case as lackluster, shoddy, and pitiful.
Well, yeah,
from the
because
force's
it's an
viewpoint,
inside job.
They've invested 20 years into the investigation, have taken 357 witness statements, and reviewed over 2,500 documents. But given how ineffective their investigation has been thus far, there are many who suspect that there's something larger at play here, and that everything is not quite right on the Isle of
I mean,
Wight.
it could be like a cover-up for trafficking, you know?
It would later come to light that the police edited this video from inside Yorkies, removing a portion which showed a police car passing by the window. Question is, why? Though their complete mishandling of Damien's case could be chalked up to incompetence or inexperience, it's hard not to contemplate an altogether more sinister explanation. That they fumbled the case intentionally to protect either Damien's
Got done
killer
rewatching
or
Arcane?
themselves.
Yeah, I got to make sure to
protect
rewatch
myself,
it before
I have to say, that's all speculation.
season 2 comes out.
Damien's family would later leave the Isle of Wight and move to Dallas, Texas, citing that the island now held too many painful memories.
Yeah, I'd say so.
On the 27th anniversary of her son's disappearance, Damien's mother Valerie spoke with News on the Wight. We're still hopeful that one day we'll have some finality to this case. In the meantime, that's a dream. The reality is we live in this world of missing persons, surrounded by families like ours, waiting for answers, suffering ambiguous loss as they live a life not fully engaged in the present, but lost in the past. A staggering 6,000 people are reported missing every week in the UK.
Jeez!
The vast majority are found within 48 hours. Some, like Damien, remain lost for decades. Some are never found.
Well, that's depressing. Oh, that's an inside job. Let's be real. Let's be real. Cop inside job. There's some like deal they got going on with the drug trafficking and people trafficking shit, and you know how it is. You know what it is, chat.
Now it's time to walk away. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Did you laugh or cry or maybe subscribed? I'll thank you either way. You know I will miss you. I hope you return. Tell your friend or your mother to get me more views, please.